How we doing, everybody? Happy Wednesday, March 6th, 2024. We're back in action, ready to get it cracking here in these markets. Not that I ever took a break from that. You guys might know from personal experience. If you don't, make sure that you're all vitamin C'd up. But we got a little bug running around. It was causing me some turmoil over the course of the past week and a half. It's like a kind of like a long extended release type of sickness, which is not fun. But definitely on the mend, on the up and up. Got my humidifier running now overnight, which definitely helps a lot in the morning with my voice and whatnot. But yesterday was the first morning that I woke up and didn't have to dive straight for the bottle of Tylenol. So feeling better, right? Not 100%, but feeling a lot better than I have been. And I'm excited to get back into it, right? Excited to get back after it. In terms of markets and the most important things, we never took a break from that. We never took a break. In fact, if anything, we were on the flu game run, right? AMD, MRVL, AMZN, SPY, what have you, right? A number of different plays, even the Netflix swings, right? A lot of you might not even remember the Netflix swings. We had a number of different things come through and pay out the wazoo for us. And that is, one thing that's really great about markets is that, again, you could be on your last leg, but as long as you have an internet connection, some Tylenol, and maybe a little bit of green tea, you can get the job done, right? Being able to look at charts and decipher opportunity and then execute on those, are amazing, because there are days when you might not be able to go in and work, right? You might take some sick leave, but you could still cash out on those days just like we did, bringing home hundreds of % profit, even in some cases thousands, depending on the expiration, using the stock market, which is the most amazing hack known to man. But good morning, everybody. Vivian, Queen Collins, King Rob, Queen Alicia, Queen Tiffany, Queen Detrice, King Paul, Queen Shannon. Glad to have all of you here, you royalty. Queen Vivian, right? Glad to have you guys here. Glad to be back in the swing of things, in the groove of things, and to dive into what we have going on here today in terms of news. Again, even when I'm not here, you still want to make it a habit to go over, important economic calendar events, right? Especially on Monday, so that you're aware of what goes on. We had some data that came out yesterday at 10 a.m. that affected markets. So being aware of things like those pieces of data dropping and stuff that will affect how we move, of course, is absolutely paramount to success in these markets. So let's dive into what we have going on here today. Let me make sure also. Okay, cool. Nice. Just want to make sure there's nothing wrong with the stream. And our top headline, right, we'll get to, but not after you. Make sure you throw that one in the chat signifying your intention to get 1% better. Even if you're watching this via replay, you're joining us for the future, that's fine. You also want to set your intentions for the information that will be conveyed. The fact that you will add this to your knowledge base, that will help fortify your mindset, and by proxy, help you discover more opportunities, because your mindset is the lens through which you perceive opportunities. There are plenty of people that were sitting looking at AMD last week on Thursday and didn't see anything. There are plenty of people looking at MRVL, didn't see anything. Plenty of people looking at Amazon, plenty of people looking at SPY, right? Didn't see anything. Or even worse, positioned in the wrong spot, and then they missed out. The big differentiator is always going to be your mindset, and your mindset is composed of your knowledge base, right? So expanding your knowledge base, right, and fortifying that knowledge with systems to execute in a way that leaves you profitable more often than not, that is the key, right? That is the key right there. So I'm glad that you're here forging that key this morning, and let's go ahead and unlock some knowledge as well. Top news, easy does it. Get ready for Fed Chair Jerome Powell's semi-annual monetary policy testimony before Congress, which is taking on additional importance as investors continue to reassess where rates are headed and the timing of such moves. Powell will answer questions from the Senate Banking Committee today, prior to appearing before the House Financial Services Committee tomorrow. He's expected to reaffirm his commitment to, quote, the incoming data, and will proceed carefully until the economic landscape becomes clearer. Yeah, this seems like it'll be a lot of dancing around, a lot of verbal kerfuffle, right? Not a whole lot of substance is likely to come out of his mouth, but still could be things that affect markets here. Backdrop, the Fed has paused its aggressive hiking cycle since the last 25 basis point increase back in June of 2023, which interestingly was the last time Powell appeared before Congress. At the time, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, the core PCE price index, was running at a 4.6% clip on an annual basis. But as of last month, the figure has dropped to 2.8%, suggesting that higher interest rates are having their intended effect on combating price pressures. Quote, I'm going to need to see at least another couple more months of inflation data, Christopher Waller, a key member of the Fed's Board of Governors, said in the lead up to Powell's testimony. Quote, the strength of the economy and the recent data we have received on inflation mean it is appropriate to be patient, careful, methodical, deliberative. Pick your favorite synonym. Whatever word you pick, they all translate to one idea. What's the rush? So what else to watch? Lawmakers may still push for Powell for a more detailed plan, as well as how high rates are impacting everything from labor and wages to loans in the housing market. Soft landing talk and other commentary can further excite markets, which are now pricing in a first rate cut for June. Things could also get political, especially during an election year and before President Biden's State of the Union address, and that could reflect accordingly in the various questions from Democratic and GOP committee members. So Powell will be up there, in front of the committee today. Let's see. Yeah, he's speaking at 10 a.m. So that could definitely be something that affects how we move today. Might end up playing the day a little bit, more light than usual, because anything that he says can affect, how we move. And he's not perfect, right? He's not a robot. He can slip up, he can say things, and those things can have, effects immediately on the way that we move. So important to keep that, in the forefront here this morning, since he will be speaking at 10 a.m. and likely speaking for a bit over the course of that time. So that's really going to be the main focus of today, is just kind of gauging where the market is at and taking into context, what Powell has to say, and then making the next move from there. We can't force the market to do anything. We just have to be ready when it's time to execute, right? And when we look at the last, week in between last Thursday and, it really the last 4 or 5 sessions, that's been the time, right? That has been the time to execute. So it's important to make sure that when it's time to execute, you are there to execute. And if you aren't, you just have to remain patient until it's that next time to execute. But you don't let FOMO or anything change your system or affect how you're moving. The market doesn't owe us anything, right? Does not owe us one brown penny. So if you, missed out on X, Y, and Z running, you can't come in and then say, okay, well, the next opportunity, I'm taking my mortgage and I'm throwing it on this stock, because that it's not guaranteed to run, right? And the risk to reward and managing that risk is still very, very important. The key is not to win all of the time, right? The key is that when you lose, it's down 20, down 10%, right? Down 30%. And then when you win, it's up 40%, up 150, up 400%, up 500, up 1,000%, right? Those wins drastically outsize the losses. And what's important from a mindset perspective, and I'll get back into this, is that when you operate based off of fear, you take yourself out of rhythm with markets, right? And what happens is you have to take solid looking opportunities, because more often than not, they'll hit. But when you start to pass up on them, what happens is, oh, okay, I passed up on this and I saved myself from a 10% loss. I passed up on this and I saved myself from a 25% loss. Woo, I'm really glad I didn't pull the trigger there. Then you go, okay, oh, I passed up on this. This one, was only 10% gain. Oh, that's fine, right? But you say, okay, cool, I missed out on, a 20% loss or a 25% loss. And then what happens? You skip the next one and, oh, I missed out on a 150% gain, right? And, oh, well, you know what? I'm not going to let that, cause me to get frazzled. I'm still going to take it easy. Oh, I missed out on the next one. That's a 350% gain, right? So that's why it's important to not operate in fear in markets when you have a good system and you're executing on good opportunities. Because you might say, oh, awesome, I stopped myself from losing 20%. I'll lose 20%, 10%, 15%, and then get 150, 200, 300% every time, because that one trade more than wipes out the 2-3 losses that you had beforehand, right? That is what is important about markets, because you missing the huge home run opportunities hurts more than you think, right? And if you say, okay, I'm just going to take the 30% win, right? Well, you had a 20% loss and a 25% loss. A 30% win right now ain't really what you're looking for, right? It's great, but you need to hit consistently on the base hits so that when the home runs come, you're ready for it, right? So that's just something that was whatever's put on my heart is what I'm going to speak on. But that's really important because you might think you're being smart and you're being super careful by not being involved in trades, even though they're a great look. But really, what you're doing is just over time, really frustrating and debilitating yourself. You aren't hitting the home runs, and you're taking small gains, and best you get is a mute point where you just exit out and you've just wasted your time, right? So that's one thing that's really important in terms of a mindset standpoint, and I'm happy to get that out because we're already dropping big golden nuggets just in the first session back after some time off. But that is key, right? For someone who's been in this game, I've been sitting where you're sitting before, and that's very important to understand. That's why no matter how many times something breaks my heart, right? AMD broke our hearts before it finally broke out twice, right? More than paid for the heartbreak. Same thing with Eli Lilly. Same thing with, like literally any stock that's had a big breakout. It's broken hearts, faked the breakout, and then got the breakout. If I was too scared, I would miss out on all that opportunity. And all of you guys, the dozens of people that are, depending on me and looking to me for inspiration for plays, you would also miss out on that opportunity. So don't let fear rule you, no matter what this market doles out. In terms of what's on the move, bull run. Bitcoin has briefly surpassed its November 2021 record high on Tuesday as demand for the token continued to be fueled by excitement over spot Bitcoin ETFs in the April halving event. The top cryptocurrency rose to 69,200, propelling its market cap to as high as 1.35 trillion, which exceeded the entire U.S. high-yield bond market. However, the momentum was short-lived, likely due to profit-taking with a sharp reversal seen in volatile trade. In the same session, spot gold climbed to a new record, buoyed by expectations of a June rate cut and a move into safe havens. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin, you got the green light to buy Bitcoin back when we had the inverse head and shoulders at 25,000, right? So stupendous call out there. We're now pushing 70K. Apparently, the big sell-off was also just due to people that had sell orders from years back for Bitcoin reaching all-time highs. There's always some type of reason or theory or something whenever it, happens with crypto. People were like, oh, it was just this one whale that had some sell orders in, and that's why we dropped. All-time highs serve as a resistance point. We put in a little double top at all-time highs and sold down. In terms of expectation for it, I'm not a, crypto stan, not a crypto bro. But from kind of the information that I've gleaned just from perusing through, I don't know, the informational sources that I try to expose myself to. Traditionally, it seems like Bitcoin kind of pushes heading into the halving, and then after it drops a bit. So, do your own research, right? DYOR, do your own research when it comes to that. Also, just don't really like if you're like, oh man, I don't have any Bitcoin and this is the time for me to get in. If you believe in it, by all means, yes, but don't let something that's talked about a lot, kind of like throw you into a panic or a frenzy. There's been a lot of coverage on Bitcoin. That's because it's gotten beaten down over the course of the past, year and a half, 2 years. But there are a number of stocks that have performed better over the past month, 3 months, 6 months, year and a half than Bitcoin, right? So it's like if you have those, be like, hey, I'm grateful that I have exposure to these, and this is awesome. This is paying me. I'm going to be grateful for that, right? Don't be like, oh man, I've got Nvidia and Apple and Microsoft and all these companies that are doing amazingly, but I don't have Bitcoin, and now I've have FOMO and I'm freaking out over when I'm going to buy my first Bitcoin, or maybe you or your first bit of Bitcoin, and maybe you bought at all-time highs and now you're down, right? For something like that, you're not buying for the sake of it to go up immediately. Research it, believe in it, purchase it, and just don't let FOMO and influence your decisions, because they talk about it like it's been amazing and it has been a great run, but we've had better runs on crypto-based stock ticker trades than what Bitcoin has done over the course of the past few weeks, few months, whatever. So it's not extraordinary money, and it can be made anywhere. Focus on what's in front of you, not what's behind you, right? Like, oh man, I should have got Bitcoin at this point. Who cares? plenty of trades. There's money made each and every day, right? So this is just for my people who, because it's easy to get down on yourself. How did I miss this? How did I knew I wanted to get some. Who cares, right? Move on, Bobby. Move on, Stacy. We got plenty of opportunities ahead. And if you're looking back, you won't be able to see him. So that's what we want to focus on. In terms of regulation, goes the clock. TikTok could be forced to divest from Chinese parent firm ByteDance within 165 days or face a U.S. ban as a bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced a bill seeking to address concerns surrounding the popular short video app. The legislation would empower the president to designate social media apps that pose national security risks, which could lead to restrictions unless they sever ties with foreign adversary-controlled entities. The bill still faces an uphill battle. There have been several previous failed attempts at outlawing TikTok, like Montana, and it was blocked by a federal judge. I mean, yeah, I'm in favor of it. Like, tensions are way too high with China right now. Do I think it will get blocked? I don't know. I mean, there's just all these, loopholes and ins and outs. Do I think it should be blocked? Yeah, for sure. I mean, tensions are the worst that we've had with China and with Russia, probably in the past 50 years, 75 years. So it's like there's absolutely really no reason that they should have this much exposure, to us, and we should have this much exposure to them at this point. So, if you're a TikToker, I feel like they've already been expanding their, revenue streams and all that, but I'm over it. I'm really never on the app at all, and I'm not a huge fan of it. So yeah, that's where we're at, because I'm one of those people who is horrible at directions. I want to make sure my phone is working properly. And if that provides a backdoor or anything like that, I don't even care if I'm just being superstitious. It is what it is. In terms of automotive news, behind the wheel, ahead of plans to launch commercial. In terms of like stock, sorry to backtrack, in terms of like stock ramifications that could happen because of this, right? This could cause some positive movement for other social media apps like Google, who owns YouTube, and Meta, who owns Facebook and Instagram. Snapchat, this could affect those. Most of the time, though, it's short term. So it's kind of random and short term in terms of the movement. And I also feel like the move would happen after this thing, after this time passes. So, like, if they don't divest and then we face a ban and that ban is announced, then, Meta and all of them would go up. Do I see that happening to them this morning? No, right? Because they still got time to get this worked out. Do I think they divest? No, but we'll see. They might work out some plan. In terms of automotive news, behind the wheel, ahead of plans to launch commercial ride-hailing services in Austin, Waymo, whose Alphabet self-driving unit, will begin robo-taxi testing with rides for employees. Note, the cities in Texas cannot regulate autonomous vehicles. The announcement comes just days after California regulator greenlit the company's commercial robotaxi services in Los Angeles, the San Francisco Peninsula, and on San Francisco freeways. Despite its service expansion, Waymo continues to face safety concerns and public ire over its self-driving cars, with a robotaxi set ablaze last month in San Francisco's Chinatown. So we blaze forward, no pun intended, but also pun intended, with this self-driving. And we blaze forward, and it looks like, people aren't giving it up. So we'll see if anything comes of it anytime soon. But it's been a lot, especially with, recent deaths that have occurred because of these self-driving robo-taxis and all that. So, we'll see. We'll see. In terms of today's markets, in Asia, Japan were flat. Hong Kong were up 1.7%. China down 0.3%. India up 0.6%. In Europe, the FTSE in London up 0.4%. Paris flat. Frankfurt down 0.1%. The Dow up 0.2%. S&P up 0.3%. Nasdaq up 0.7%. Crude oil up 1%. Gold down 0.1%. Bitcoin up 1.3% to $67,511. 10 a.m. We got Jerome Powell, who's getting on. 10 a.m. We also have wholesale inventories, so we got some data coming back. I'll have to look and see, kind of the extent to which Powell will be speaking today. But we'll kind of maybe pop into that. Maybe I'll have that on in the background while I work, and we'll see what he's talking about and recap major highlights probably tomorrow. In terms of what else is happening, let's finish up with our rapid fire stock news rundown. Google's Sergey Brin said Gemini launch was messed up. I actually like Gemini a lot. I never asked it to create images for me, so I don't really care if it was creating images of, like founding fathers that were people of color instead of just white. Um, I don't really care about that because I kind of use it in the way that you would use ChatGPT or anything else, and it has been super, super, super useful and knowledgeable on that front. So I'm still a big proponent of Gemini. Tesla halts production in Germany after suspected arson. Tesla and Apple, two titans, both getting knocked to their knees here. Apple, you've heard me mention this over the course of the past, I don't know, 3 weeks to a month about the large bearish chart pattern that we were in on Apple. We went ahead, we fired that, right? And Apple has been taking a load off. Tesla fired a really big bear flag. We popped up last week to try and get, retest the area that we lost. And, we couldn't close above it. And Tesla fired down. I think it's very important to note, though, that you have both Apple in the dumps and Tesla in the dumps, and SPY was still going up. SPY still broke out, right? SPY still hit upside price targets, and Apple has been red for a month. That marks a more significant turning point than anyone, I think, who is aware of markets notices. And that is there's been a shift. There's been an inflection where it is no longer Apple's market. It is Nvidia's market, right? That's important to note because, Apple traditionally, you need Apple. For SPY to reach all-time highs, you need Apple, right? For SPY to break out and fire a bull flag, you need Apple, right? For the most part, in the past, if the market was going up, it was because Apple was going up. And if the market was going down, it was because Apple was going down. Now, like we did, reverse and sell yesterday after we put in the shooting star bearish candle 2 days ago. But it's very important to note that we are seeing a change in the guard currently, where there is a new stock that is keeping things afloat in sort of determining direction in markets. Because Apple has been getting the crap beat out of it again for a month, and we are doing nothing but hitting new all-time highs, right? Which is crazy to think about, but that is an important, kind of like mindset point threshold that we stepped over where, again, Apple's not the person steering this ship anymore, right? If you've seen the movie with Tom Hanks and the Pirates like, I'm the captain now. Right? That's literally NVIDIA looked at Apple and threw him overboard and was like, I am the captain now. So that's where we're at with things, which is pretty crazy indeed. So Apple and Tesla both getting their butts kicked. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. You might say, Adam, why haven't you been playing puts? You want to trade with the trend. The trend is your friend. Can you make money on, those opportunities? Yes. Is it what I'm focused on? No, not as much, right? So you can be aware of opportunities and not take advantage of them. I know some of you have, and that's been awesome. But it's just, not something that I'm kind of currently super, super focused on, is taking advantage of that. I'd rather see where they're going to bounce and move on that side, especially since we're in an uptrending market. Because when Apple does get it together, and if Tesla can get it together at the same time, right? The market, no longer has those restrictions and those reins aren't so tight. Because if we had Apple and Tesla on board, last week coming into this week, we'd be flying right now. Absolutely flying. What else is happening? Okay, CrowdStrike soars as results top estimates, buys Flow Security. Target gets applause from higher margins and guidance. Worst day for SoFi Technologies, ticker SoFi, after convertible note offering. And then November rematch in store as Biden and Trump dominate Super Tuesday. iPhone, whose ticker is Apple, sales in China dropped 24% as Huawei popularity grows. How will the CFPB's late fee credit card rule impact bank earnings? And then soft guidance from Nordstrom, whose ticker is JWN, overshadows upbeat results. First Solar, ticker FSLR, tariff exemptions threaten U.S. solar manufacturing. So that's it for today, right? This session here, March 6th, 2024. Throw a 7 in the chat if you're excited, right? Throw a 7 in the chat if you're ready to continue closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Throw a 7 in the chat if you're grateful for waking up this morning. I'm in the boat with you, right? I did not have the best morning. I'm now able to talk, but I wake up and there's another black swan event that has been thrown into my lap, that will cost time and money. And I could let that throw off and derail the rest of my day, or I could look at all the things that I still have in front of me that I'm grateful for and all the opportunity that I can take advantage of. So if anybody woke up in your same boat, right, and you might have to go and I don't even know, but whatever is just most inconvenient, right? Somebody threw a brick through your window, or somebody slashed your tires, or whatever. You might have had a really, really crappy morning. Just understand that in this community, we're all pushing through together, right? Pushing each other to be better, to do better, and to establish habits that not only are conducive to us being profitable in the market, but also to us having a fulfilling life, right? So dealing with things like fear, apprehension, limiting beliefs, all of that, very important. So make sure that you tend to that, because otherwise it's really tough for the money to flow. Tend to yourself, love yourself, and let's have a great day, right? I'm happy to be back. Happy to see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you then. Peace.